Hello, ladies. This is Leah Kalani. Thank you for joining me today. I want to share with you what I want to create here in our little corner of this virtual world. I want to be sharing different Torah concepts and ideas that relate to the Jewish woman's role in the world and how it plays out in the 21st century. I've been learning these concepts over many years from numerous sources, as well as successfully incorporating them into my life. I invite you to post your thoughts and questions in the comment section below, because I want this channel to be our ladies' chat room. I'm not assuming anyone's level of Torah observance or knowledge. I will be using both Hebrew terms and their English translation. And if I do forget to use the translation of a Hebrew term or word, please ask me about that in the comment section below. In the next video, I'll respond to your comments you post here. And then in that video, I'll move on to the next topic and invite you to post comments there and continue this dialogue back and forth between us in that way. So here we go. It concerns me on many levels to see Jewish women facing more and more challenges to find a husband. And when she does find him, there are more challenges to stay happily married. We see divorce rates in the Jewish world continue to rise. And there's even a growing trend where couples who have been married for many decades are divorcing after marrying off their own children. So in other words, marriage is really taking a beating. And whatever I'm saying here applies to my own former struggles and where I've been. So what I'm sharing here with you is not theoretical. I believe I'm sharing what really can work if we understand the underlying problem. We can't resolve things if we don't really understand the issue and have clear understanding of what is going on. Sorry. Excuse me. So there are a growing number of Svarim we see filling up the shelves in Judaica stores, and they guide the Jewish woman to be her best and how to find a husband, sustain Shalom Bayit, and nurture a family, and so on. And there are also many shiurim that are designed to inspire change for the better, but yet the marital problems that are mounting don't seem to be subsiding readily and easily. And in my experience, I have found that transformation is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. So the purpose of Shasani Kirtsono is to discuss Torah-based concepts regarding the Jewish woman, how she can be empowered in her life from our eternal Torah teachings. Because when the Jewish woman is empowered, she changes her life for the better and positively impacts the lives she touches every day. The Torah describes a Jewish woman as an Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, or an Akeret Habayit, the essence of the home, and sometimes an Ezer Kenegdo, which is commonly translated as helpmate, though I like the term and for the intention being more an assistant for change. So to me, these Torah terms in some ways seem to be a partial description of a Jewish woman, whether single or married. So while I was davening, when I was praying, and we have in the morning prayer, Shasani Kirtsono, which means that I was made according to his will. And that feels more comprehensive in description to me. And I believe it includes the other terms, and I will, in future sessions and videos, explain why. Shasani Kirtsono is found, as I said, in the morning blessings. It's in part of a series of 15 other brachot. Now, the thing is we don't see that term used too much. And my speculation is that due to the wording of the male counterpart of the woman's version of this bracha, which is Shelo Asani Isha, that I was not made a woman, I suspect that Shasani Kirtsono has not been as embraced as, for example, Eshet Chayil, woman of valor. So the comparison of these gender-based brachot can be perceived as very insulting, right? And I can imagine that for women who choose to embrace the Torah life, that this gender dichotomy can sound downright humiliating. And it speaks of chauvinism and so on. So, and I'm also certain that women who are born into a Torah life have some niggling concerns about this piece as well. Now, this gender dichotomy, what this does is that it's in our 21st century thinking, it actually perpetuates to support the argument that the Jewish woman is treated as a second-class citizen in the Torah world. So let's take a few steps back and look at the dichotomy a little more objectively. Let's consider the possibility that our concerns and perceptions are solely based on our 21st century filters. As women, we're descendants of the 60s women's liberation movement, when women were demanding equal pay for equal work, and which is definitely a worthwhile cause. However, that premise in the workplace seems to have spilled out into every other aspect of a woman's personal life. And that's caused a paradigm shift in the relationship between men and women. Now, don't get me wrong. I agree women being treated unfairly in the workplace is a reality, and it's still happening, even in our day. And I would also agree that women have suffered personally, too. So the women's movement was on many levels necessary. However, this was not just a movement, it was a revolution. And like any revolution, there is collateral damage. And in this case, the collateral damage impacted women, men, children, families, both of the world at large as well as in the Jewish world. So what I'm striving to bring here to you is not a new innovation. I'm inviting you to join me in reclaiming what really works for women when we embrace our divinely given feminine powers, She'asani Kirtsono, that I was made according to His will, to God's will. That's what makes us the empowered Eshet Chayil, the woman of valor, the Ezer Kenegdo, the assistant to change, and the Akeret Habayit, the essence of the home, where everyone benefits. So I believe it's important to understand the origins of these gender-based brachot from the time it was first drafted. So I'm going to be referring to the book Rav Schwab on Prayer, which clarifies the context and basis for the wording of our tefillot. So, there was a time when we had Nevuah, prophecy. And before Nevuah disappeared, tefillot were put into place by a group of 120 men that went by the name Anshe Knesset Gedolah, the Great Assembly. This was the 120 elders, the sages of our nation. Many, and possibly all of them, were Nevi'im themselves. They were prophets. And this group existed at the beginning of the Second Temple era. And before prophecy ceased to exist, the Anshe Knesset Gedolah instituted the format of tefillot that we know now. So before that time, the positive mitzvah of prayer, of tefillah, was left to the individual's prerogative. They could format their tefillah, their prayer, in any which way and have their connection to Hashem. So what happened that the individual lost that prerogative to formulate one's own prayer and be bound by tefillot that are scripted by a group of 120 men? So the Gemara tells us that the Anshe Knesset Gedolah eradicated the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination of idol worship, avodah zarah, through tefillot, because this desire to worship idols has plagued our forefathers from the time of the Tanakh until their time. And the Vilna Gaon writes that the Yetzer Hara of idolatry was related to the power of prophecy. So once the Yetzer Hara of the idolatry was eliminated, then the power of Nevuah ended as well. Now, well, from our Tanakh, from our books of Nevi'im, of prophets, we have 48 prophets and 7 prophetesses. Now, the Talmud informs us that there were 1.2 million Nevi'im that arose among Bnei Israel. And with so many Nevi'im among the nation, it was during the time of Nevuah that the positive mitzvah of tefillah was left to the individual's discretion, because the Jews of that time were able to individually compose their own prayers as a result of the inherent power of prophecy that was available to all. Potentially everyone could become a prophet as long as prophecy existed in the Jewish neshama. So Talmud tells us that although Moshe Rabbeinu instituted the first blessing of Birkat HaMazon, or a blessing after our meal, Yeshua instituted the second blessing of Birkat HaMazon, and David Melech instituted the blessing to rebuild Jerusalem. But yet the exact wordings of these blessings were still left to the individual's discretion to formulate. The Anshe Knesset Gedolah structured the tefillot as we know them to follow closely to the architecture of the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple. The 15 Birkat HaShachar, the 15 blessings that we say in the morning, which include She'asani Kirtsono, corresponds to the 15 steps which led up from the women's courtyard to the Israelite courtyard. So now going back to the bracha of Shosani Kirtsono, we see that it is part of a trio where the male counterpart says that he did not make me non-Jewish, that he did not make me a servant, and that he did not make me a woman. So now these are the only 3 of the 15 that you find that they're said in the negative. So why did the Anshe Knesset Gedola not draft these brachot to say that he made me Israel, that he made me free, and that he made me a man? So the Gemara tells us that the house of Hillel and Shammai had a 2.5-year dispute as to whether it would have been better or not that man was created in the first place, since man commits so many avirot, so many sins, wasting the precious neshama that Hashem has given. So eventually the matter was decided by a vote that indeed it would have been better if man had not been created except for righteous people. However, since man was created, we got to make the best of it. So we're going to explore further how these brachot are misunderstood and misperceived as being a statement of superiority and arrogance. So we're going to go over each one right now. Let's ask the question, does Shelo Asani Goy or Goya, that I was not made a non-Jew, mean that we're thanking Hashem for not making me like Metushelach, the tzaddik, for whom the flood was postponed 7 days? Or like Noach, who is called a righteous man, in whose merit all of present-day mankind exists? Or like Shem and Aver, who were the teachers of Yitzchak and Yaakov? And what about Yitro? In his honor, an entire portion is added in the Torah that we read every year. And how about Eov? Eov was called my servant Eov and was almost as great as Avram Avinu. So let's consider now the next bracha. Shelo Asani Eved, or Shifcha, that I was not made a servant. Does that mean we're thanking Hashem for not making me like Eliezer, the servant of Abraham, who is described as ruling over his Yetzer Hara, his evil inclination, just as his master Avram did? Eliezer was known as the Damesek Eliezer because Doleh umashkeh mitorato shel rabo le'acherim. He watered the world with the teachings of his master. This servant merited miracles in his search for Yitzchak's wife. Or like Tovi, the servant of Rabban Gamliel, whose master testified that Tovi was a Talmud Chacham, worthy of smicha. Who of our generation would Rabban Gamliel call a Talmud Chacham, really? Or how about the handmaiden in the house of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, to whom the sages would come to with their questions? And now for our bracha, Shelo Asani Kirtsono, the male counterpart is Shelo Asani Isha, that I was not made a woman. Does that mean Hashem is being thanked for not making him like Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, or like Devorah, the prophetess, or like Queen Esther? So let's consider the perspective that the wording of these brachot intend to actually highlight the opportunity the Jewish man has to perfect himself with 613 mitzvot. A non-Jew has only 7 mitzvot, no matter how righteous he or she is. A servant is obligated to only fulfill the mitzvot similar to a woman. And a woman has all the mitzvot except for the time-bound mitzvot, even if she's Devorah the prophetess. Now, the Torah views and in many Jewish books are very clear that all high spiritual levels can be reached by men and women alike. The book Tanad of Eliyahu says that the woman can experience divine inspiration, Ruach HaKodesh, and we see in Jewish history many women experiencing Ruach HaKodesh, Nevuah, and other higher states of consciousness. So let's clarify. What is the purpose of mitzvot? To improve ourselves and connect with Hashem. We learn on a simple pshat level that women are exempt from time-bound mitzvot because the responsibility of taking care of and raising children falls to them. On a deeper level, men require time-bound mitzvot to improve their connection to Hashem. Women already have this innate ability to connect to Hashem. They were created with it. She does not require time-bound mitzvot to perfect herself. We cannot perfect what we already have. How is it that we have it and the men don't? Because a woman's essence is gevura, which you can translate as strength or discipline. And gevura is a feminine trait. It enables a mother to create boundaries that children require while transmitting Torah values in her feminine ways. Her innate modesty is a reflection of Gevurah in how she conducts herself in her dress and her actions. Well, men's nature, as the Torah tells us, is that their nature is to conquer. They're not natural caregivers, and nor do they naturally establish boundaries. Because the masculine energy they embody is chesed, benevolence, which is an outpouring of energy, of giving with no boundaries. Their energies then are channeled through the mitzvot that impose boundaries of time and space, and where they have to pause and find 9 other men to have a minyan, or pause to pay attention to the time that they're praying on time. This is their tikkun. It's not a woman's tikkun, because we don't need it. Another natural aspect of a woman is to be a receiver. It is the woman who looks to her husband for her support and for their children, not the other way around. Men are not at their best as receivers, and women have the strength to ask Hashem to give her and her family all that they need. So by saying that I was made according to his will, means a woman puts herself completely in Hashem's hands. She nullifies herself before Hashem's will. And being made according to his will means we don't need to perfect ourselves in the ways that men do. Hashem has created women with innate tools that we get to embrace and step up and be our best. And the more we compare ourselves to the men, in my opinion, the more we actually cut ourselves off at our knees, and thereby we cut out and don't embrace the parts where we are at our best. So with Hashem's help, my future videos will cover what our strengths are, what obstacles get in our way, and how we can remove those obstacles that stand between us being at our best and embrace our true purpose in our lives. So please post your comments, like and subscribe. Let women know about this virtual space, and thank you again for joining me and listening to what I've shared today. Have a great day.